Hi, I'm Vanisha and you are?
I'm Christina.
Okay, hi Christina.
Hi,
What brings you here today?
hi. Uh, just want to talk about some of the things that's not going on too well with me right now.
Okay,
Mhm.
but before we begin though,
Sure.
I have to stop you there because I would like to tell you more about this idea of confidentiality. Have you heard of it
Mhm.
before?
I have very briefly, but perhaps you can elaborate a little more.
Okay, sure. It's good that you heard of it lah. So
Mm.
basically, this confidentiality clause is
Mm-hmm.
an idea that whatever is discussed here is like
Mm-hmm.
a safe space, and it
Mm.
won't be, I won't tell anyone, and it will just be between these four walls and between you and between me. No one else will
Mm.
know about what is discussed.
Mm.
But there is an exception lah. The only
Mm-hmm.
time I would have to report to my supervisor about what is discussed is if you are, well, I feel like you are um, doing harm to either yourself or to
Mm-hmm.
others lah.
All
So
right.
you okay with that?
Yes. Mm.
Okay.
Yep. That's
That's
fine.
good.
Mm.
That's
Mm.
good. That's good.
Mm.
So we can begin now lah. So what
Mm.
do you, I mean, I heard you say that you are here because you are not feeling, well, you're not feeling too good. Could you tell me more about it?
Yes, of course. It's more about just want to talk about things that's not really going on too smoothly at work
Mm-hmm.
now. Yeah, particularly, yeah, it's not going well with my boss and I. Yeah, it's not going too well. And it's not just recent. It's been quite a while already. Mm.
Okay, maybe you could tell me more about your situation with your boss, because it seems like it's affecting you quite a bit lah.
Eh, yeah, it it has not been going well um, since there are lots of rules and regulations that needs to be implemented uh, by by the local regulators. And what I need to do is actually to come up with frameworks, and frameworks being the skeleton of a procedure, of a process. Um, it's very important to get that right, and sometimes all these frameworks that we need to roll out, uh, it's not just only pertaining to my department, and it involves other departments as well. And that is still all right, because if you know there are other stakeholders that needs to contribute to make that framework uh, uh, to be workable. Of course, I will have meetings, go through discussions and stuff like that. But being a framework, this is something new. Uh, Sometimes I've been needing my boss to actually step in to let me know whether I'm actually going in the right direction.
Mm.
Um, since these are all new things, as the saying goes, when it's new, it's like uncharted territory. So you need to think carefully whether it's workable, and because it's not tried and tested, you do not know whether it works or not. So it's very good that you have some other people to come in to, there's like people put on their thinking hat and to see whether it works or not. And I've been doing that with colleagues and stuff like that. That is still manageable. Of course, there are some more difficult people, but that's something we all need to manage. Work relationships.
Mm.
But when it comes to my boss, you know, just trying to get him into a meeting, provide him with an agenda as to what at least I need to discuss about, and how far I've actually done in terms of setting up the framework. Yeah, he attends the meetings, but he's not really contributing in terms of, telling me whether in terms of, whether he's giving me inputs that he thinks this is right, maybe this could be improved on. It's not really working, as in I wouldn't know whether I'm going in the right direction. That's the whole reason for me to go to him. And he knows jolly well that when when you lead a team, you're already like managing a team, you head a function. When you need to involve your boss, then then I would expect the boss to have their head screwed onto the shoulder, right on the shoulder, be very grounded, and then try to sort out issues. But yeah, he's just not really contributing, and I don't know even, I mean, as to whether I'm actually going in the right direction. Is it the right path? There could be several options that I can reach the end, but which is the best? Don't know. So that's where I need to get him involved. But right now seems like it's like he's not. It's not just not going anywhere right now, and mm, if time is not the essence, then I'm not too worried about it. But all these regulatory implementation do have deadlines, and the last thing I want is when the deadline is very near and the framework is sort of like done, and he comes in and say, it's not good enough, or this needs to be changed, or you know I don't know what's next, really. So it really bothers me right now.
Yeah, I can sense a sense of like, well, I feel like I can sense a sense of like frustration coming from you lah, about the lack
Mm,
of direction and guidance from your
yeah.
boss, and
Mm,
especially when this is something new to you. It's
mm,
because you guys have been working on policies, but
mm,
it's more like now you have to build a policy, right?
mm,
So it's a
mm,
bit different, and like you say, it's uncharted territory. So I can sense
mm,
that, well, you are very frustrated with the fact that there's lack of guidance.
mm.
So I'm just wondering, right, how do you go about, um, because there's lack of guidance, so how are you going about your work now to bypass this issue?
Mm. Well, of course, the daily business as usual, that is not an issue. So that's pretty manageable.
Mhm.
Um, but when it comes to such things, if you ask me how I go about doing it, really there are times where I just sit down there and I'm just lost. I do not know what to do. Um, it could be because I'm lost. I do not know what to do because I'm expecting a little too much from my boss. I'm also not sure. But as a boss, I would expect him to, you know, walk the talk and really be a role model, so to speak. Uh, yeah. How do I go about? Only occasionally, um, I would like contact, my network of people within the same function as I am. Yeah, and some ask, and we bounced off questions here and there, and some of them would actually respond and mention how they would go about doing it in their organization.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that at this point in time, that's about the only thing I'm doing when I'm sort of like I hit the wall. I nearly hit the wall, and this is what I'm doing. So I reach out to my network within the same function. Of course, they all work in various other organizations. Yeah. Mm.
I'm really glad though. I'm really glad that you are actually, well, you wouldn't let this brick wall stop you lah. You actually find ways
Mm.
to circumvent this brick wall by tapping into your network and asking other people for
Mm.
help lah and guidance that you can't
Mm.
otherwise get.
Mm.
Boss.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, you could
Mhm.
tell me how much do you think that this is actually affecting your daily moods lah, your daily in everyday mood. So 1 being like, well, it doesn't affect you at all, and 10 being like, oh, it's affecting me a lot. I can't even sleep. I can't even eat. Having trouble.
I would say at this point in time about 7. Yeah, about 7. I think it's 7 now because I feel, or at least I feel it's 7 because it's not nearing the deadline. Yeah, I think maybe if it's nearing the deadline, I'll be a bit more. Uh, maybe the rating will be higher. Mm.
So just wondering, am I right to say that you are rating it like your mood is like a 7? So you're slightly affected by well, your boss and the way in this situation,
Mm.
because you're worried. Am I right?
Yeah, that's
You're
right.
worried
Yeah.
about, well, there's also a time crunch element to this issue
Mm.
lah.
Mm.
So when the time gets nearer, as you said, then obviously the worry will increase, anxiety increase, and you probably will rate
Mm.
yourself at a 9.
Yeah, could be. Could be. Yes.
Okay.
And it's not just only one framework. The regulators are implementing quite a number, and it so happens to have a couple falling under my function.
Um, okay.
Mm. Mm.
Just curious. How long has your boss, well, been in this position where he's currently at, like as your boss, and how long will it, how long will he stay here? Do you know any of this?
The fortunate thing, I would use the word fortunate, is because he's an expatriate. So being an expatriate, uh, he comes with an employment agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Within a certain period of time,
Mm-hmm.
he will need to go back to the home country.
Mm.
Yeah. So that is like there's a light in the tunnel that at least there's some certainty that he's not going to be my boss forever. Mm,
Mm. But
yes.
at least, yeah, like you say, there's light in the tunnel. At least it's always, situations always feel much better when there's like a deadline to it. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah. This deadline, yeah. You're right. Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes.
So, but well, before your boss's deadline
Mm.
is the other deadline that you have would be this regulatory framework.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious, when will it be? When will you have to present all this new framework?
I will have to present this by the first implementation has to be rolled out by 1st of October.
Oh, okay. That's
So
that.
it's just a few more months. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm.
I mean, how far will you think you are done with your project along the way? How much? How many percent?
I would say right now it's about I think easily 75%.
Mm.
Yeah. Sometimes when it comes to framework, you have to. It's not just me doing, saying how it should be done, and you just roll out a framework. You also, because like what I mentioned earlier, that there are other stakeholders involved.
Mm-hmm.
So after you have actually completed the framework, you need you need all the other stakeholders involved to do a review, and then they have to come back with comments whether it can be done. At least their function can do it or not, or perhaps the framework needs to be amended to tweak it.
Okay.
Yeah, so there are little moving parts that's involved, just like a watch. It looks simple, but if you open it up, there's so many little mechanism that's involved, to make a watch work. So this is how it is right now. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's always bureaucracy, right? And there's always like this back and
Mm,
forth whenever it comes to regulation and
mm,
policies. So I'm just
mm.
wondering, how, I mean, at which stage does your boss come in this decision making process?
Actually, every now and then, we would need to involve him because we need to know as of each step of the way. He needs to review it just to make sure that we are going in the right direction, because it's not as if that you can, for example, you need 10 steps to do something. But in order to reach the 10th step, you need to ensure that all the 9 steps are in order before you reach the 10th step. So it is exactly what it is. It doesn't make sense that you finish the framework and then you get your boss to involve to just vet through and here it is, just approve it, just sign your name on the dotted line. It doesn't work that way. I mean, this is a framework, and it gets inspected by the regulators. Who knows, a few years down the road, they just want to make sure that this organization is actually implementing this particular rule and regulation correctly.
Okay.
Mm,
I'm just wondering, have you
mm.
and your team ever raised this issue up to your boss? Like, you feel like maybe he needs to be a bit more hands-on to this project because you guys really, really need guidance and there's a deadline to meet.
Uh, I would say yes, but I would say it is more in a more subtle, gentle way. Yeah, because I also do know that he's quite a sensitive person. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there are instances that I felt that yeah, I think sometimes with him you need to be a bit more careful because he's very conscious about how he looks in front of his boss.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So and after all, he's still my boss. I need to be mindful.
Okay.
Mm, yes. Mm.
So, am I correct to say that you actually have you and your team, I would say, have actually brought it up to your boss? But I mean,
Mm,
mm,
it's not that much of my team. It is more. It's more me and other department heads who report to him
mm,
directly. So it's more uh, me if it relates to my function that I have, like I told you, very subtly, brought it up to him that he needs to uh, really look into the work as to whether it's going in the right direction.
okay.
Yeah,
So,
that's
so there
right.
are people lah. I mean, there are people like you and the other department heads actually giving him subtle feedback that
Mm,
maybe maybe he needs to improve on certain areas.
yeah, very subtle. I wouldn't know so much about other department heads, but for me, definitely I've been very subtle and careful.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay. Just
that's right.
wondering how I'm just very curious. How will you subtly give someone feedback?
Oh, a bit. You call for meetings, and then you have the agenda, and if he starts to not, not how should I say, if he starts to, lack of a better word, start to not give very definite direction as to whether, yeah, this is the correct way, then I will keep going back to the agenda
Mm,
just to point to him that this is what I want you to do. This
mm,
is the agenda. You need to do something about it.
okay, okay.
Yeah, that's right. Mm.
Okay, so this is very, I would say very subtle lah, very politically correct. It's very interesting though. It's very interesting to me. This is very new to me also. Uh, yeah, so you were saying he's very sensitive to feedback.
Yeah, that's right. He's very sensitive.
Why
Yeah,
would
he's very sensitive. Yeah.
what led you to say that?
Mm, I mentioned about him being quite mindful as to how he looks in front of his boss. Because when his boss comes to Singapore, he wants to vet through all the department heads' slides in
Mm,
terms of our presentation to his boss.
okay.
What does that say about him? Not that much confidence, actually.
Mm, mm, okay. So
Yeah,
is that particular behavior
yeah. There's this particular behavior,
mm,
and he is also a bit uh, he looks for like those description things like, just give you this is a real thing. If you use the word complex, say for example, it's like this situation is quite complex. He
mm,
will look into it and say, I think maybe you should change that word complex. It's not a very nice word to use.
mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm,
Okay. So
yeah. Sometimes, you have to hear the real thing from the ground level.
mm,
Not all seniors want to hear fluff, if you understand what I mean.
yes.
And I think he comes across as someone who just wants to talk fluff in front of his boss so that everything looks good.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm,
but at least there is a timeline for him to work here, so
mm,
it is not really not that bad after all, as in I have to continuously having to deal with this kind of leadership.
I mean,
Mm,
it's good lah. I mean, I hear that well, it's not like you have not tried all your resources lah. You do
mm,
definitely, you are resourceful. You have actually tried to get help from other departments through your
mm.
networking.
Yes, of course, yes.
So the main
Mm,
issue is just really regarding your boss's lack of direction. At least currently, it is affecting you
mm,
before he
mm,
start. Mm,
mm.
just
Yes, that's right.
mm, okay. So and I'm not wrong to say that am I wrong to say, you feel, well, slightly, you still feel slightly affected lah, but not so affected because of the um, I'm trying to piece together this my sorry, let me piece together my thought process.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You feel, you actually feel like more to am I right to say you feel more worried about the looming deadline than anything else for your regulatory project?
Um, I would say, okay, the looming deadline is definitely one of it.
Mm,
But the other thing is actually the framework itself, whether
mm,
it is feasible, whether it's too easy. I mean, I don't know. Again, because this is new
mm,
to me,
mm,
so it's basically the framework, whether it's going in the right direction,
mm.
and the deadline.
Okay, okay. I'm just wondering if because you guys really kind of have like you say 75% done. So probably the remaining 25 is just seeking maybe approval or feedback from your boss. Am I right?
Mm, no, it's more than that.
Mm,
It's after the completion of the framework. It's not just rolling out within the time frame.
mm,
You need to get all the other stakeholders involved
mm,
and comment
mm,
and review and comment. And then from there, we take in all their feedback, and then we may need to tweak the framework.
Okay. So, I know you say that, I mean, you are empathetic towards your boss situation, that he is kind of sensitive
Mm,
to the superiors, to his superiors, like the
mm,
way he's viewed lah by his
mm,
superiors.
mm.
So, I mean, I'm just wondering if it's okay, if you and your team find it to be okay to bring it up to to his superiors, the project, to seek their feedback. Would it work? Would it expedite the processes before the deadline?
Mm, maybe because my boss's boss is actually coming to Singapore soon. I could very I don't need to put it in a slide presentation as a slide presentation. I could just talk to his boss's boss, you know, and provide some of my thoughts and concerns about, having this framework in place, or at least these two frameworks in place. I could, yeah, I could. That's a good suggestion.
How do you feel about the suggestion? You don't have to take my word for it. I'm sure you are very.
Yeah, I could do that. I could do that. That's an option for me. Uh, yeah, and see how the boss's boss is gonna um steer him. Yeah, I could give it a try. I could give it a try. Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, he's coming soon, like within a few. I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks time. I could, I could because we always have one-on-one meetings, with the boss's boss when he comes down to Singapore. Yeah, that's our practice.
Okay. That would definitely ease the slightly ease your worry, right, on the looming deadline.
E- yeah, let's see. Yeah, yes, I will give it a try definitely. Mm.
Okay. So, I mean, you would be okay lah. I mean, have you thought of how this will impact your boss and impact you ultimately if you follow through with my suggestion?
Mm, if you talk about impact, I'm not so concerned about the impact as to uh, um, how should I put it? That I'm concerned about. I've like raised my concerns or issues about him behind him. I'm actually more concerned about um, my work in terms of having a proper, good framework done
Mm-hmm.
up properly and within the timeline, because that is also my reputation that I've actually done a good job, and that is for the whole company, and it's not just because of my relationship with me and my boss.
Mm, okay. So definitely will ease your worry lah and really help your
Mm,
situation lah.
yes, that's right.
Okay. So, I mean, you came here to talk about how your boss is. Well, I
Mm,
mean, you feel like you need to share with someone about how your boss
yes.
doesn't guide you properly. Um,
Mm,
well, did this session help you? Was this section?
yes, 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 yes. Suggestion to talk to the boss's boss is a good one. I will work on that.
Okay, I'm so glad.
Yes.
I'm so glad I
Mm,
could help
mm,
you in this session.
yes.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, are you open? Are you okay? First of all, are you okay with this mode? Because I know with the pandemic and stuff, we can't do a face-to-face session. Are you okay with Zoom?
Yes, I'm fine with this. Yes, yes, I
Okay.
am.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm only worried it's like sometimes I'm not I'm looking at you, but I think because the the camera is right on top, so you may think that I am not looking at you. And that's about the only concern I have.
Yeah. I mean, these things can get
Mm,
really tricky also. My camera's also
mm,
acting up. Yeah. You'll be okay,
yes.
right? Open to more sessions, the next
Oh
session?
yes. Yes.
Because I really love to hear more about, how you deal with this situation in your boss
Mm.
and learn more from you about how to be politically correct. It was really interesting though.
Yes.
It was interesting sharing.
Yes. That's good.
Okay, so maybe I'll send you a link after this session for next week.
Yes. Yeah, that will do.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you so much.
All right.
All right,
Thank
bye bye.
you. Thanks.